production of free radicals, or ROS. Again, we'll talk about that. Poor stress management. So cortisol is a hormone that we've all heard about, and we all know about it for stress, but it also plays a role in turning off inflammation. So if your cortisol is being diverted to deal with stress, it might have an impact on your inflammatory levels and not be able to turn it off. We'll talk about that as well. So poor sleeping habits. You need sleep to recover. If you're not sleeping enough, you're not going to recover. Your body's going to be stressed. There's going to be more inflammation. So food choices. So I'm guilty when I go to the supermarket of looking in other people's baskets to see what they're buying. So I'm at the supermarket and there's an elderly man walking up to put his stuff on the cashier's belt, whatever you want to say, and he's there and he's emptying out his basket, and he's got white bread and cheese and deli meat and meat, tomatoes, peppers, milk. And then I also see him slap up 3 tubes of Voltron onto the counter. And I can see he's not moving well. And I wanted to say something, but you just can't. So like, as I'm looking down into that basket, everything in that basket is going to promote inflammation in his body. All the food. Okay? The only thing that's going to control the inflammation is those 3 tubes of Voltron. Okay? The problem is, like, it's funny that he knows how to topically control the symptoms by rubbing that into his joints. But the problem for me is that he's unaware of the foods that can be causing inflammation in his body in the first place. And that's like the general population. We need to be aware of the consequences of the food that we choose to eat on a daily basis, and like the effects that they can have on your body. So it blew my mind that he just didn't know anything about the food that he was eating, and that could be causing the pain that he's in. But he was well versed on knowing that the cream would help. So we're going to talk about inflammation. So we've got our omega-3. So we've got omega-6 and omega-3. So this is going to go a little sciencey, but not too much. Omega-6 can be pro-inflammation or it can be anti-inflammatory. Okay? But omega-3 is only ever anti-inflammatory. So things that help to promote inflammation or decrease inflammation are called prostaglandins. So we've got PG1, PG2 and PG3. If you're in Ireland, PG has nothing to do with parental guidance for watching a movie. So PG1 can either be inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. PG2 is inflammatory and PG3 is anti-inflammatory. So if we roll over on our ankle, our body needs inflammation. Like, we need it in the body. So PG2, that's why we've got it. Because the body needs to be able to control something that's going on. And PG3 is going to help to control any inflammation in the body. So, inflammation. So sources of PG1, PG2 and PG3. So PG1 is based off omega-3. So let's take your sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, or then processed sunflower oil. So these can either promote or decrease inflammation depending what the body needs. PG2 is going to create inflammation, and this is called arachidonic acid. And it's found in animal products, meat, dairy and cheese. It's best to try and eat wild, pastured, organic meat, dairy and cheese. Now just because it's organic doesn't mean that it's wild or pastured, so you got to do your research and see. These guys are going to help a little bit because they're going to contain more omega-3 than conventionally raised meats. And then we got PG3, and these are all anti-inflammatory. And these are your omega-3s, and they're found in oily fish, flax seeds, chia seeds, algae, and fish oil supplements. So what I want to talk about is plant and animal and the difference of the omega-3. If you take a chicken, or if you take a fish that's living in the water and lives off the green growth algae in the water, that fish is going to take that green and it's going to convert it into a usable form of omega-3. And when we eat the fish, we get that usable form of omega-3. But if we were to go out and try and take a plant-based source of omega-3 like flax seeds or chia seeds or walnuts, we eat that But it takes a lot of work for our body to digest it from that plant form into an omega-3 that we can absorb. So it might be like 2 to 10% of the actual flaxseed we eat will actually convert to a usable form of omega-3 for us. So that's just to bear in mind if you are solely basing your intake of omega-3s from plant-based, you might not actually be converting a very high amount of it. So omega-3 is good for controlling inflammation in the body. It plays a role in brain health. It can improve your risk factors for heart disease, and it can help with depression and anxiety. So animal sources are all going to be oily fish. So any fish that smells. So if it's white fish, it generally is not high in omega-3. If a fish smells, it's that fat that you're smelling. And if it goes rancid, that's what you're smelling. That's what's stinking, is that denatured fat. So tuna, mackerel, sardines, salmon, these are all good sources of omega-3. And as I spoke about, your grass-fed pastured meats, organic, these are all going to contain more omega-3 than they would if they were conventionally raised, because a conventionally raised cow is fed corn. A pastured cow is fed grass. The cow can convert the omega-3 in that grass into a usable form for us. There's no usable form of omega-3 in corn for a cow to convert. So that's why you want to make sure it's pastured, wild, grass-fed, because we want to get that omega-3. So if you're eating conventionally raised meats, it's going to be higher in omega-6 and it's going to push the ratio the wrong way. So plant-based, flax seeds or linseeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, but the body can only convert up to like 10% plant-based sources. So just always bear that in mind, that if that's your only source, you're going to be low on omega-3. So omega-6. So omega-6 can promote or decrease inflammation depending on the situation. It can play a role in the reproductive system. It can maintain bone health, regulates metabolism, and helps to stimulate hair and skin growth. So you're going to find it in conventionally raised meat, dairy, and eggs. And then you're going to find it in sunflower seeds, especially sunflower oil, seeds, nuts, and processed vegetable oils. So we're going to go a little bit off the beaten path here, and we're going to talk about fat and the dangers of processed vegetable oils and margarine. So every cell in your body has a membrane, and that membrane is made of fat. And the quality of fat that you eat dictates the quality of this membrane. So if your diet consists of pizza, chips, and fries, the chance, and there's no oily fish, there's no flax seeds, there's no linseeds, the chances are every cell in your body is struggling because that membrane gets harder and thicker, and it's harder for stuff to pass in and out of that cell. It's harder for your cell to communicate with its neighbor. Refined, processed vegetable oils have all the nutrients taken out of it because they want to keep it stable at room temperature so that they can put it on the shelf. Like, you wouldn't take butter and leave it out on the shelf for 6 weeks and wait for someone to buy it. Okay, it's not going to work like that. It needs to be kept in a fridge. So we're always looking at your body. Every time you eat fat, your body's going to lay that fat down around your cell membranes. So the healthier cell membranes are, the healthier you are, because we are just literally 1 trillion cells glued together. So when you're cooking, you're looking to use coconut, butter, coconut oil, butter, olive oil, but you always want to consider the smoke point. With olive oil, you never want to get it at such a high heat that it starts to smoke. Then you've denatured it. It's gone. It's going to turn into a cis fat, which is also like a trans fat, where you've changed the structure and the body doesn't really know what to do with it. And so when it's laid in your cells, it's not exactly the best idea either. So your smoke point, coconut and butter have good smoke points. You can get them high and hot without them smoking, but olive oil has a lower smoke point, and you do not want to reach that when you're cooking. Another thing is when you're eating out and you're getting a deep fried whatever it is, be it fries, be it donut, who knows, it's the quality of the oil that they are using and also how many times they've used it. So when I'm at home, when I want to make chips or fries, I literally shallow fry. I put a little bit of oil in the bottom, enough to coat the food that's going to cook. but I only ever use the oil once, and I don't let it smoke. If it's smoked, it's gone, and you're going to be eating those rancid fats, and your cells are going to be made of those rancid fats, and your cells won't be able to communicate like they should. So just always be aware of what processed foods you're eating and the oils that are in that food. The problem is, because that oil and fat gets laid down in our cell, it's not like having a sugar roller coaster where you can burn off excess carbohydrates. This fat is literally gone into your building blocks. It's now part of you. So please consider that. And also, oils that are kept in clear plastic bottles, not a good idea. Dark glass, so either brown or green or blue, whatever it is, to block the light, and also glass as opposed to plastic. So the problem with omega-3 and omega-6 is the ratio that we now eat. So it should be 2 to 1, but most of the time it's now 40 to 1 because there's so many processed oils in our daily food intake. So any fast food, packaged foods are going to contain high levels of omega-6 and low levels of omega-3 because omega-3 has a very short shelf life and it needs to be refrigerated. You can't use omega-3 to make the base of a pizza, but you can use sunflower oil, omega-6, to make the base of a pizza. Fat in the form of refined vegetable oil is also very cheap, and fat gives flavor. So for a food company to use more expensive fat to give flavor, they'd rather use the cheaper, more refined omega-6 loaded